Hello, my friends! Now we're up to the good stuff now. We're gonna talk about Criterion, Warner Archive, Kino, Shout Factory, The Works. So with that said, let us get down to it. So, I'm gonna show you the Shout Factory one first. And I do mean one, Sleepaway Camp. Now, I watched this on Joe Bob Briggs' last drive-in show, which I really need to get back to that actually. This movie is a really good whodunit slasher film. It's really good. And actually, this has a reversible cover here. Let's see if I can show you that a little fast. So Sleepaway Camp basically deals with this teenage girl who goes to, you can see that right there. I think I like this artwork better because it's the original poster art, but I might change this out one of these days. Anyway, so Sleepaway Camp deals with this teenage girl who goes to this camp, and she's constantly being made fun of for little to no reason. All these murders start happening, and you kind of wonder, like, what it is. Joe Bob said that if you are going to watch this movie, pay close attention to the opening scene and the last scene. If you don't, then the rest of it won't make much sense. I've seen this movie twice, and I've always liked this one. There's a lot of, like, 80s slasher movies that are very juvenile, basic, and very just one-dimensional, even though they may be entertaining, they're kind of one-dimensional. But this was one of the ones that really made you piece everything together and try and figure out who's doing it? Who is killing these camp counselors? I have seen the two sequels. Sleepaway Camp 2, Unhappy Campers, and 3, Teenage Wasteland. Second one was okay, despite the fact that it was a comedy, like a horror slasher comedy, and the third one was pretty bad. So, I may get those, but those Shout Factory ones are pretty rare. The bad and beautiful. This movie reminded me a lot of Sunset Boulevard and Ace in the Hole, movies that deal with sort of a dark side of Hollywood, of journalists, sort of that like yin-yang kind of thing. Sunset Boulevard dealt with the dark side of Hollywood. Ace in the Hole dealt with how obsessed journalists can get when trying to report a story, going as far as to parade on other people's misery. This movie deals with what happens when somebody gets into everybody's business. Lana Turner's in it, Gloria Graham, Walter Pidgeon, Dick Powell's in this. Vincent Minnelli directed it. Yeah, he also directed Meet Me in St. Louis with Judy Garland. He directed several classic MGM musicals. But yeah, this is a good one. Next up, Gaslight. One of the best film noirs you will ever watch. This came out in 1944. I've been trying to get more classic films on Blu-ray because sometimes they restore movies and they look almost new. But yeah, Gaslight is one of the best film noirs, dealing with Charles Boyer, who's the abusive husband of Ingrid Bergman. Partly dealing with mental illness, but again, it's been a while since I've seen it, so... it's been a while since I've seen this one too, but I remember I saw this on TCM once, and I really enjoyed it. Definitely check this one out if you haven't seen it. Directed by George Cukor, probably one of the most prolific directors out of the classic era. It's a movie that really grabs you. I say some of the best film noirs deal with complex characters and relationships, and very dark relationships at that. Next we have Studio Canal. Hoping to get more of their releases, because I think they put out Grand Illusion, Jean-Pierre Jeunet. Ran. Akira Kurosawa. The name is synonymous with Seven Samurai, The Hidden Fortress, Yojimbo. I saw Seven Samurai, and I am going to pick that up at some point. I hope to. But Ran is a really good movie. If you've never seen this, basically, it's a 16th century adaptation of Shakespeare's King Lear. So this king is appointing a new successor because he's retiring, and he chooses one of his three sons. And he chooses one of his sons, and this other son is like, no, you can't do that because I am much better fit to lead your country than this brother over here. And the king's like, I choose him for a very specific reason. You are not qualified to lead, and then he gets so jealous that he is then banished, and this starts a war between the father, the three sons, and the two kingdoms. The cinematography is great. The music is good. It's hard for me to watch foreign language films sometimes. It's hard for me to stay focused with it. But I've been watching more prolific directors. Kurosawa, Andrei Tarkovsky, Goddard, I think his name is. The person who did Umbrellas of Cherbourg. Yeah, this movie is really good. Definitely check this one out. Okay, so next up we have Kino. I love Kino. I'm trying to get more of her releases. I have High Plains Drifter, which I showed you in a different video, and The Art of Love, which I showed you that one too. So first up we have Broken Arrow with James Stewart. Jimmy Stewart is the kind of actor who can dive into any type of role. He could be a tough guy, he could be a sensitive guy, he can be very funny, he could be very tragic. So he can dive into any type of role, kind of like Tom Hanks is now. In this movie, James Stewart plays a Union soldier who he eventually helps the Native Americans sign a peace treaty, and one of them becomes his friend, played by Jeff Chandler. His name, Kochi. Yeah, Kochi. Then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, the peace treaty is broken by somebody in this Native American tribe. One of the Apaches breaks the peace treaty. In the same way that Jimmy Stewart helped Kochi, Kochi is trying to help Jimmy Stewart to prevent him from extracting his revenge. Pretty interesting Western. No, this movie is not related to the John Woo actioner, which has the same name, but it's a different plot. Coming Home. This is another movie dealing with the side effects of war. Best Years of Our Lives, Platoon, Full Metal Jacket, Born on the 4th of July. These movies, brothers with Tobey Maguire. Movies like this, they don't deal with the war itself, but rather the side effects. What happens when a soldier comes home from the war? They are never really the same. Their mentality becomes unstable, trauma that they're dealing with. Sometimes they've even lost an arm or the ability to walk. Depends on the situation. This movie is another one of those, and it's done pretty well. I bought this because I've never actually finished it. It was on TCM one night. It was like really late. I saw, I think, the first, like, I think the second act. I didn't see, like, the rest of it because it was, like, almost 1 a.m. Yeah, but I'm hoping to watch this all the way through at some point. John Voight, Jane Fonda. The last one, Burning Bed. Oh, whew. This movie is really tough. We're dealing with tough subject matter here because this movie deals with domestic abuse. It's a true crime story, so if you know the story, the true story, gets the facts generally accurate, much better than other Farrah Fawcett TV movies that she did. This is the true story of Francine Hughes. She married this guy, Mickey. She married this guy named Mickey, and at first it seemed like a decent marriage, but then as years go on and after she has kids, she starts seeing more abusive tendencies toward her. And this abuse only escalates with time. It gets to a point where she just cannot take it anymore. If you know the true story, then this movie pretty much follows the facts for the most part. It's really well done, dealing with tough subject matter here. I don't know, not very many people are able to handle it, but if you can handle it, this is a TV movie that's worth watching. Alright, so Criterion. Alright, what's Summertime? This was David Lean's second romance film. His first was Brief Encounter in 1945 by Noel Coward. I liked that movie much better than this one. Katharine Hepburn plays a woman who, and by the way, this is the only DVD release of this. The only one. So just let you know. Katharine Hepburn plays a woman who travels to Venice all by herself. No friends, no family, just her wandering the streets of Venice. And one day, she's about to buy this, like, red glass, this red cup. She comes across Rosario Brazzi. Now, she ends up falling in love with him despite the fact that he's married and has a family of his own. It's a movie that deals with the theme of adultery, but it's it's shot well. David Lean loved Venice so much that he actually bought another house there. So obviously he has some kind of personal attachment to Venice. Pretty decent movie. It's I liked Brief Encounter much better, but Parasite. This was pretty historic. This is the first foreign language film to not only win Best Picture at the Oscars, but it was also the first foreign language film to win Best Foreign Language Film and Best Picture in the same award ceremony. I liked the movie. I thought it was fine, but I didn't think it was like, it is a good movie. It deals with the contrast in social classes, the high class and the lower class. Basically follows his family in Seoul, Korea. Seoul, South Korea, who live in this really bad apartment. And so the father gets a job being a chauffeur to this rich family that lives in this really nice high-tech house. So one day the higher class family, is going on vacation for a week, and so the dad decides to invite his whole family to live in his house for a week because it's going to be empty anyway, so they decide to expose themselves to the luxuries of what it would be like if they were rich, essentially. There's a point in this movie where it turns into a thriller. I'm not going to say where, I'm not going to say when, but at some point it goes from being a dark comedy to a thriller. And you don't know when it's going to happen, but it just appears out of nowhere. It's a pretty decent movie, Bong Joon-ho. One of my favorite films of all time is up next. Do the Right Thing. This is a great edition of a movie. This is brand new. This edition came out in 2019, so it came out a couple years ago. It has a brand new restoration of a movie, and it looks amazing. Almost brand new. It's got tons of bonus features here, and it's got like a little booklet inside with like this like mural artwork. Anyway, so Do the Right Thing, it deals with prejudice and racism in an all-black neighborhood in San Francisco. So it takes place over the course of a single day, and all these characters, Mookie, Sal, Radio Raheem, Sal Pinto Vito, who run a pizza store that the main character Mookie works at, Senior Love Daddy, Tina, Dick Willie, Bugging Out, the mayor, mother, sister, they all live in the same neighborhood in San Francisco, and it's like really hot. It's like 90 degrees outside, and as the day gets hotter and hotter, as the temperature rises up, the tension starts to build. The conversations get more heated. People are being prejudiced with one another, and at some point, it just explodes in violence. This is a movie that deals with prejudice, race tolerance. This is a movie that makes frequent references to Martin Luther King and Malcolm X, eternal struggle between love and hate. Really, it's a really powerful film. This is one of my favorite films. I love this movie, and I recommend anybody who wants to check this movie out, go check out this Criterion edition with a red cover. It is fantastic. I could do a whole video on that movie. I love that movie so much. I might do that. Sweet Smell of Success. Two of my favorite actors are in this. Tony Curtis and Burt Lancaster. Both of them are journalists from opposite sides of the journalism world, who both of them are going after the same story, which is a jazz musician who falls in love with his sister. Cinematography by James Wan Howe, directed by Alexander McKendrick, I'm sorry, I got that wrong. Music by Irma Bernstein. This is a really good drama. Like, if you love newspaper films that deal with journalism, like All the President's Men, Absence of Malice, even though I didn't like that one, The Philadelphia Story, His Girl Friday, then you will definitely like this. Like, the acting in this is, like, really good, and the story is so interesting, but it's really well done, and I encourage you to check this out. Being John Malkovich. I saw this movie one day, and I was kind of like, I'll check it out. It wouldn't hurt. And it surprised me. It really did. It really surprised me. So, John Cusack, plays a puppeteer who is forced to work on this building on the 7.5 floor. One day he accidentally discovers a portal underneath a Xerox machine and finds out that he can travel inside the mind of actor John Malkovich for 15 minutes. And at first it's like a secret, but then the news gets spread around the building, so now everybody wants to check it out, including John Malkovich himself. That's where things get weird. If you want to know why this movie is on Criterion, it tells you on the back of the box. Have you ever wanted to be someone else? Or more specifically, have you ever wanted to crawl through a portal hidden in an anonymous office building and thereby enter the cerebral cortex of John Malkovich for 15 minutes, before being spat out on the side of a New Jersey turnpike? Melancholy Marionettes, Office Druggery, a frizzy-haired Cameron Diaz, Surrealism, Possession, John Cusack, a domesticated primate, Frood, Kathleen Keener, Non-Squinters, and absolutely no romance. Wheel Throwing, Emasculation, Slapstick, A Puritan Heresy, and Malkovich. Yeah, it's a weird movie, but it's done very well. Fail safe. I am so happy to own this. This is a great companion piece to the Stanley Kubrick black comedy Dr. Strangelove, which both of them deal with nuclear annihilation. In Failsafe, though, it's a drama, and it's done very seriously. It deals with 3 different characters. Walter Matthau is a political analyst who relishes the idea of nuclear annihilation. Henry Fonda is the president who has to make tough decisions. Larry Hagman as the president's Russian interpreter. Daniel Hurriesm is too. This movie is really good. I think the reason why it's considered underrated is because Doctor Strangelove came out first and Failsafe came after, so I guess people were kind of, they were still like, why do I want to see another movie dealing with the same topic, But then again, keep in mind, the Cold War was at its height in the early to mid 60s. And people were seeing these movies, or people were seeing these type of movies like crazy. The idea of nuclear annihilation, that idea was really popular at the time. And so this movie dealt with the fears of annihilation. It dealt with those fears, and it handled it with, like, it really keeps you on your toes. By the end, it just kind of stops you in your tracks. I'm not going to say what happens, but it's one of those endings where you're like, wait, that's it? But yeah, this movie is underrated now. Definitely check this out. The Spy Who Dumped Me. This is stupid. It's stupid, but it's funny. Mila Kunis' boyfriend is a spy, but now they're after her. For whatever reason, it's crazy. Kate McKinnon. It's one of those movies that's just stupid, but it's, like, enjoyable. It's enjoyably stupid. The Last of the Mohicans. There have been several adaptations of a story before, but the most well-known of them is this one with Daniel Day-Lewis. Daniel Day-Lewis plays the last of this Native American tribe known as the Mohicans during the French and Indian War, and he eventually falls in love with the daughter of a British soldier. So now there's kind of this feud going on. He's trying to protect her, but at the same time, he's trying to protect his tribe at the same time. It's kind of crazy, but yeah, this was one of Michael Mann's early films. This came out in 1992, so he had yet to establish a style of his own in films like Heat and Collateral. Next up, we have Parkland. So Parkland is another movie that was made by the American Film Corporation, which, as I've stated before, they do a really good job when it comes to historically accurate films. The Conspirator is probably one of the best ones that deal with historical accuracy. So Parkland this time around deals with the John F. Kennedy assassination through the lives of several people. The hospital staff at Parkland Hospital who tried to revive him, Abraham Zapruder, who captured the famous footage, the FBI and Secret Service agents who were trying to figure out what happened, and Lyndon Johnson, who now has the responsibility of being the President of the United States. But it's really interesting. A good cast. You have Billy Bob Thornton, Paul Giamatti, Zac Efron, South Park, bigger, longer, and uncut. Okay. I like South Park. I do have the first 5 seasons. This is a really great bundle, by the way. I think South Park is pretty good when it comes to like satire while simultaneously giving a message in each of her episodes. It's not like, I mean, yeah, there's moments where it's crude, but at the same time, they bring up a lot of good points that exist in today's society. And the movie deals with the theme of censorship and how people can go way too far with it. Eric Cartman, Kenny, Stan, and Kyle, they sneak into an R-rated movie, which is the Terrence McPhail movie, and then at some point their parents find out about it. Kyle's mom takes it way too far and starts a national boycott against Canada. And then everything goes down. I don't want to give too much away, but it's a really good movie. It's a funny movie. It's also a musical too. Until next time, guys. See you later.